Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio. This is episode 13. We were meant to have Dr. Gabba on the line, but unfortunately his connection via Starbucks just wasn't cutting it. So this week we're going to go solo and we'll have him back on next week. So definitely stay tuned for the next episode, which will be released the following Wednesday. What's that?
It'll be 2 weeks.
Yeah, by the time they listen to this, it'll be the following week.
Oh, yeah.
Let me start that.
Will it be?
No, yeah, it'll be. Yeah, we release every 2 weeks.
Okay.
But if we record this week and this gets released next week,
yeah, he's not back till the 25th though.
Oh.
So okay.
All right, guys. So anyway, just the moral is just listen to every damn episode. Listen to every episode, and you'll catch him eventually. It's going to be a good one. He's going to talk about anxiety, GABA production, and whatnot. And he's a very, very interesting guy. So that's what was meant to happen. So instead, you've got Akash and I going solo together. So the first thing we're going to do is touch on just a few questions or issues that we've had recently with clients that we just want to clear up, that we feel that other people may benefit from listening to this. Now, one of them is fiber intake. So fiber is, for most of our clients, fiber is really important. And I say that because the majority of our clients are dieting for fat loss. Fiber helps with satiety. So it helps keep you full, helps keep you regular and whatnot, as we know. It's great for colon health. It ferments in the gut, so it sort of creates that fullness feeling. So when we're in a calorie deficit, it's great to have, and I would always recommend most clients shoot for around 10 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories consumed as a very rough guide. Now, on the flip side of that, I have a couple of my male clients at the moment that are in big muscle growth phases where calories are now pushing around like 4,000, 4,500 calories. Carbs are very high. They're at 400 grams plus. And they've come to me recently saying that they're actually really struggling with appetite. So in their cases, I've purposely reduced their fiber down. So I've switched out sources of carbs like oats, and I've told them to eat like more white rice, more cereals, bagels, rice cakes, those sorts of things. You know, jack up your intra-workout carbs that have got zero fiber in them. And the reason I'm saying this, I've had two guys literally in the last 10 days, both come to me with the same question. And in both cases, I received the check-ins today saying it's been a game changer and that their appetite is back on track. So it's just to say that fiber is kind of a double-edged sword. We need it. But when we push our calories up high, we naturally tend to get it in the diet and can end up overdoing it if we're cramming in lots of sweet potatoes, oats, and the typical sauces that you would eat when dieting. So don't be afraid to flip the switch and go for some higher GI carbs, ones that you would typically want to stay away from. Akash is leaning into the computer, which means that he's going to chip in. I can always tell when he's about to talk.
Yeah, I had the same situation in my last off season, if you remember.
Yeah,
you know, when my calories were pretty high, and I was having too much vegetables in my meal. So it's when I cut that down, then my digestive system started working a lot better.
Yeah. So
but otherwise, I was just uncomfortable the whole time.
Yeah, there's a happy medium to get. When dieting, you usually want a decent amount, somewhere between 15 to 30 grams per day for most people, probably. For those adding size, definitely keep an eye on it and make sure it's I would say below 40 grams a day when you're trying to add size. So that's the first thing. The second thing is one that I've done a video on, but for those that haven't seen the video, it's worth touching on in the podcast. And that's more females than males, but it's bodyweight fluctuations. So I've had this recently with maybe 4 or 5 different clients that are getting really annoyed that their body weight isn't dropping, despite them looking leaner and despite their umbilicus coming down. And in 80% of them, we've worked out that it's only ever raised on their check-in day. Now, what happens for most people is, say your check-in day is Tuesday, for example, which is the day that we're recording this. No, we're not actually. It's Wednesday. It's Valentine's Day. Here I am talking to you on Valentine's Day. Lovely. So say Wednesday's your check-in day. What tends to happen is you're pretty relaxed all week. And then subconsciously, you can't help but overthink and get a little bit anxious about getting on the scales tomorrow. And in females in particular, this ends up getting you quite stressed, overthinking, anxious, and it leads to an increase in cortisol, which binds to the same receptor as aldosterone, which is a hormone that causes water retention. So you get on the scales tomorrow, and it will look like you haven't lost any body weight, or perhaps have even gone up. So what I've experimented over the last couple of weeks with a few of my female clients is I've asked them to then keep recording their body weight for the next 3 days in a row and email it to me each morning. And in all cases but one of them, it's dropped. Within like 2 days, it's dropped and actually gone further than what it was the previous week, which just proves the theory that, of course, we know it's not fat gain. They're just retaining water where they're so stressed. So the solution with this going forwards longer term is to just weigh yourself each morning, keep track of it in notes on your phone, and then send me or Akash or Lee, Nathan and Ben, send them your weekly average weight. So to get that, so either just send all 7 days weights and we'll look, which is how I get my clients to do it. Or if you want to go a step ahead and make it easier for us, you could add all 7 of the days up. So you'd add Monday's weight to Tuesday's weight to Wednesday's to so on, and then divide that by 7. That will give you a weekly average. And that's the number that we want to make sure is coming down. Have you noticed the same thing with your clients?
Yeah, 100%. Getting the average definitely helps.
Yeah. So the take home there is that if you are noticing fluctuations and that you know you're getting leaner, but on the scales, you're going up or you're staying the same on check-in day, just try taking it every day. What ends up happening is you don't have that anxiety of tomorrow's check-in day because every bloody day is check-in day. So that seems to iron out that issue. You had one, didn't you, about carbs versus fats?
Yeah, so the third question is, if you're looking to drop body fat, does it matter if you drop calories from fats or carbs?
Okay. Are you going to answer this or do you want me to give my take?
Give your take. You're the nutrition man over here.
Okay, so once calories and protein are set, really it doesn't matter where the deduction comes from out of carbs and fats. And for the most part, when I make deductions, it's out of like experience and intuition at doing this now with clients that I just kind of tend to know who responds best to what. But for the most part, once calories and protein are set, it doesn't really matter in terms of fat loss as to where you pull those calories from. So whether you were to reduce around 5 grams of fat or around 10 grams of carbs, both would elicit roughly the same response in fat loss. The difference really comes down to adherence and how you feel. So for some people, myself, when I pull my fats continuously, just hormonally I feel crap. My libido goes, my sense of well-being goes, energy production is pretty poor. So I'm not a huge fan of pulling fats out of my own diet. However, on the flip side, in some people, if you start pulling their carbs, they'll notice that their performance suffers in the gym. So
that's like me.
Yeah, that's like you, right? So I prefer to pull carbs and leave my fats somewhat high. And I don't notice a huge performance detriment until, if I'm a few weeks out from a show, I'm very lean and total calories are really low. But at the beginning of a diet, I myself would always pull carbs and keep fats relatively high. Whereas Akash is the opposite in that he notices when he starts pulling his carbs, his training performance suffers. So it's about finding kind of what works for you. But Akash and I have been doing this now.
Like you said,
for so long that we kind of have like a bit of an eye for it with each client. And I kind of
this is what I told the client. He asked me, and I said, there's no real reason. I just think you'd respond well to dropping fats this week.
Yeah, some clients I'll be pulling carbs just based on their look. If they've got that full look to their muscles, that full like 3D look, usually you can get away with pulling carbs from them and leaving fats a little bit higher. Whereas on the flip side, if I have a female that's on the lighter side, I'd probably prefer to keep fats a little bit higher, and so on. So it's completely client dependent. Depends on how you feel. In terms of rate of fat loss, once protein and calories are set, it makes a little difference. It's more down to how you feel. If you go low fat, do you feel like a hormonal wreckage? If you go low carb, do you feel like your performance is suffering? And that's just something that you need to feed back to your coach. Being brutally honest here, if you're listening to this and you're a real beginner client and you have no experience, just trust your coach's guidance. because at this stage, in your first maybe year to 18 months, you probably won't be able to tell about performance detriments. This is that intermediate level that this really kicks in when you start to know your own body. So if you class yourself as beginner / early intermediate, then just roll with one of our opinions and just trust us to guide you through the process. It's what we do day in, day out. If you fall into that intermediate advanced category, you've competed yourself, you've got shredded a few times, you really know your own body inside out, then that feedback to us is great. Would you, anything to add on that? Or
100%.
Yep.
Complete agreement.
Okay. The next thing actually is also how I should have opened the podcast, which is that I'm sat in front of me with, I don't know if you've seen me on Instagram stories today, with a jar of sugar and a microphone balanced precariously on top of that. And I just want to give my client Nick a bit of a shout out here, as he noticed that whenever I was talking on the episodes, there was a huge echo in the room. So we're hoping that this microphone sort of eliminates that. So it'd be good to get some feedback if you know that the audio quality of this episode in particular has improved. So thanks to Nick for that. And while we're saying thanks to people, a big thanks as well to my client Sunil. We've got a lot of hookups, haven't we, actually? It's a bit of a perk of being a trainer. It's quite nice. So Akash and I were in Tampa in Florida this weekend, and I'm lucky enough that one of my clients works for BA as a pilot, and he texts me, saying, just let me know your flight times and details. So I let him know that. And I got up on the Monday morning that we were about to fly out and had a text from him saying that he's spoken to the crew on the flight out and that they're going to try and upgrade us. Naturally, you don't get your hopes up, but there we are, sat in our normal upright seats, moaning about the legroom. And then some lovely cabin crew comes over and says, "Is your name Mr. Adam Haley?" I said, "Yes." He says, "You're in the wrong seat." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's 28K. He says, "No, you're in the wrong seat." Oh, I'm in the wrong seat, all right. And we swiftly got put to the front of the plane, given a bed, and there we dined on scallops and steak while watching Goodfellas. So, yeah, huge thanks to Sunil for that. We're going to hook you up with an RNT t-shirt just as a little thanks. So let that be a lesson to all you other clients. If you have services and perks, we're always open to it. If you feel you can hook us up with something, we'll sort you out. Right, on to Tampa. Let's quickly just summarize on Tampa. What do you think?
Yeah, so it was my first proper time to the States, and like I was telling you, the most impressive thing was the customer service, right?
Yeah, so friendly.
I couldn't believe how friendly everyone was.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? Just to
every
you've got
cab we were in. Yeah,
you've got cab drivers that actually want to know a bit about you, and it seems like they actually do. It's not like they're going through the motions. You could have people out there doing the most menial of jobs, doing the same task, hour in, hour out, and they still have a smile on their face. Whether they finish their shift, pulling at a drive-by on the way home and just, scream into the air or something in their car or cry, I don't know. But for that 8 hours that they work, they have a smile on their face and it doesn't go unnoticed by us. So
yeah, cool. I was shocked by it. Also, obviously, the weather was a nice change from London.
Yeah, a bit of a crap one landing back yesterday with the rain. But
yeah, it was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it's always good to get some winter sun. It just makes you feel good, puts you in a good mood. So that was nice. Some long days, not a lot of sleep because Akash likes to snore.
No, I mean,
no, don't you try and deny.
That was because of dehydration, right?
Here we go. Dehydration every night, all 4 nights.
First night.
No, it wasn't. I was banging on that bedside cabinet every night.
It was the AC though. It was the AC.
Oh, now so 1 minute's dehydration, now it's AC. Basically,
the dehydration comes from the AC though.
Basically, he has a snoring problem, which, and it resulted in me falling asleep in the bathtub at like 5 a.m. Just to get away from that. So if you've got somebody that snores, just book a separate room. Anyway, moving on. This episode is about Project Recomp, which some of you may have seen the video that I put up about 10 days ago. It's basically where I'm just going to elaborate on that. So if you've watched the video, you're kind of, in essence, you're going to get, what's going on here. But essentially, for the last 13 years, I've trained non-stop with perhaps like 5-day breaks in between every so often if I was going on holiday or whatever. But over the last couple of months, training really took a back seat for me. If I'm going to be brutally honest here, I haven't cooked a meal for myself in about 2 months. Everything has been just on like Just Eat. I've been ordering, chicken shish kebabs and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, it's not that the food necessarily has been bad food or dirty or whatever. It's just been laziness. So my days have literally been like protein shakes, takeaways, but as in, protein-based takeaways. It's been ready meals, so it's been like the M&S, I think they're called like Simply Full or Longer, where they're usually like 30 grams of protein, 35 carb and low fat. So it's not that I've been sat here eating burgers and pizza, but I've just had no real inclination to stick to a set diet, to get into the gym, the minimum 4 or 5 times a week. It was more like 2-3 times a week, just focusing on progressing my bent over row. And the rest of it was really going through the motions. So I wanted to do this whole Project Recomp thing really at the angle of letting people know that we're human too. We go through periods of this. It's taken me 13 years to get to this period, but I've gone through it. It's been a good few months. And we are going to be recording a 6-part series covering the whole thing. So we're going to go through nutrition, so how I start that, and how that if anyone's going through what I'm going at the moment, you're going to see how simple I make my nutrition at the start and how it sort of progresses and gets a little bit more complex as we go, rather than trying to jump in at the deep end, just demotivate yourself. It's, it doesn't work. So we're going to treat myself as if sort of I'm working with a client, I guess. Training, the last training plan that Akash gave me was 5 days per week. And it was, for me, it was moderately high volume. This time we've dropped it back down to 4 days per week. It's low volume again, and it's very low rep ranges, 4 to 6 and 6 to 8 rep sets for the most part. And the goal of that is to just get my strength back on track. So as a guide, I finished the year on, I think it was like 145 for 6 or 7 reps on the incline barbell press. And 2 weeks ago, I came back and I was benching like 115, but I was shaky. I did 120, still shaky. I did 130 that felt more stable. And then when Akash and I were in Tampa in MI40, he told me to just man up and stick 3 plates on. So I did 140, but it was like 4 reps. It was shaky as hell. It didn't feel stable. So the training goal right now is to just kind of just mentally get that love for training back, get my strength back, and start feeling good when I walk into the gym again. Without sounding arrogant, it's nice being that guy that you walk in the gym and when you start loading up the bar, most people look over because they know you're going to be pressing some decent weight. Whereas right now they're walking over, I'm walking in the gym, they're looking at me and it's like, oh, what's he doing? Just spending the whole session warming up. It's quite humbling. So that's the goal there. Supplements are going to be pretty minimal. I'm going to elaborate on this in the video. And we're also going to get Dr. Gabba himself, as I mentioned earlier, the guy that's meant to be on the podcast. He's actually going to travel down from Birmingham to Crawley to meet me in person. He's going to run some screening on me for anxiety. And then we're going to try and improve my sleep. We're going to try and run like some supplements to improve my gut health and my rate of digestion. I think, Akash, you can attest to my lack of appetite. I mean, if you think back to every meal we've ever eaten out in the past, I finished within... I mean, do you remember Shaka Zulu? Where I ordered 2 mains, as well as...
You don't eat anymore.
Whereas now...
I felt like I was overeating every meal.
Yeah. It's crazy. I've always been known for having a huge appetite. But as I've mentioned on previous podcasts, it's gone. So starting supplements with a couple of client recommendations. So Adriana and Patrina have recommended bone broth and grapefruit seed extract. So I'm trying those along with probiotics. And then I'm getting Dr. Gabba. His real name, we keep calling him Dr. Gabba because that's his Instagram name, but his name's Jazz. He's going to suggest some other supplements as he thinks it could be a GABA deficiency that is causing the lack of appetite. But I'm going to allow him...
GABA, he's obviously going to...
Yeah. So I'm going to allow him to expand into that and give his thoughts on that, because I really don't know at this point. But he'll be on the podcast to discuss it in a general sense, and he'll also be in part of Project Recomp, the video series, more tailored toward me. And then we'll wrap it up at the end of 6 weeks, and the goal is really just to have, number one priority is to have my strength back. The second priority is to have my muscles feeling fuller again. Fill out my t-shirt sleeves. I've used this analogy before that when you train, you're shuttling nutrients to the tissue. So it's like filling up a balloon with air. When you're not training properly, when nutrition isn't on point, it's like you're not filling that balloon. So my arms have got the potential for the size, but they're just, I'm not maximizing it. So they're just flat at the moment. And then the third one would be, as a byproduct of just getting things back on track, body fat itself should also come down to a degree without me really focusing on reducing body fat. So I'm going to set my calories around maintenance, maybe slightly above maintenance. And the goal is to get a recomp effect, which will be to build some tissue, lose a little bit of body fat, tighten things up. That will then put me in a position to potentially do a 12-week diet before Akash and I head out to San Diego. And I'm not sure.
12 week or 6 week? 6 week diet.
Oh, is it 12 weeks to San Diego? Okay, so 6 week extreme diet. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So it's going to be a 6 week recomp, so like a priming phase, and then 6 weeks to strip that down and do like a mini diet and show you.
Oh, so you decided you're going to go for a diet then?
Well, I thought that's what you told me to do. I just do what I'm told.
Okay.
I'm sure that's what you told me to do in the seminar that we were listening to. I'm pretty sure that's what you wrote down. So, I mean, I'll open it up as a poll to people on Instagram. So again, if you're listening to this, just follow me on Instagram. We'll give you the tags at the end of this. I'll put up a poll saying, what would you rather see for the next 6 weeks? Would you rather see me max out on muscle growth, or would you rather see me max out on fat loss? For the sake of 6 weeks, I think fat loss is probably going to be more interesting for most.
Yeah.
Plus, it'll also be nice, walking around the pool in San Diego, looking somewhat lean rather than a beached whale with a hairy back. Anyone in the Facebook group will know what we're talking about with that one. So do you have any input on the whole Project Recomp thing?
No, I think it'll be good for you because you haven't had that drive to train, and when I'm with you, you don't eat, and I think it'll just be good for you. And I think it'd be good for other people to see how, trainers and people who are really into training normally can fall off the wagon and, lose their motivation to train.
Yeah.
I mean, just to see how you get it back and, how quickly you get it back.
Yeah, I'm already feeling pretty stoked up. I've got a new training partner that I trained with this morning. Akash, you'll be pleased to know I did legs this morning.
Yeah?
Yeah, did legs, yep. I'm going to be training 3 days in a row just to get all the sessions in this week. So if you listen to our previous podcast with David Taus, the owner of Get Nourished Nutrition, he's actually now my training partner. So he's now waking my ass up at 6:30 every morning into the gym to train for 7:15, and we'll be hitting the workouts. So 4 days a week. Going forwards, it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with Wednesday as a rest day. But due to flying back yesterday, I pushed it onto today. So we're doing 3 days in a row, take the weekend off, and then from next week, 4 days a week. The handy thing about him is that he'll be able to video, some of the footage for training and stuff, which will sort of keep you guys posted on Instagram so you can see my strength progressions. It helps him as well with the Get Nourished brand being, high protein. He's trying to target the fitness market. So I'm in charge of his coaching. We've added quite a lot of muscle to his frame. We're going to run a mini diet with him soon as well. So it's kind of like a win-win situation. I've never really trained with a set training partner. Back when we were at UP, I kind of relied on the fact that, Akash was training, so-and-so was training. So it kind of pushed you a little bit. We all had strengths and weaknesses. If you needed a spot, you all knew each other well. Yeah. Whereas, the last few months I've trained at Nuffield. I train at like 7:30, 9 in the morning when it's just, no disrespect to the mums listening out here. Pre-warning on that. It's a lot of just the mums on the cross trainers. There's not anyone in the free weights area that's kind of motivating me at the time that I train. And that's why I thought, right, getting David on board, training a little bit earlier, it's giving me that motivation back already to have somebody to push against.
Yeah.
So hopefully, yeah, for those of you that have either you're new into training and you're overwhelmed by how complex it all seems from the outside, hopefully this will show that you can break it down into simple steps and progress it through a period. And for those of you that go through ups and downs with training motivation and you beat yourself up about it, hopefully this whole series will just show that we're all human, we're not robots, and sometimes other priorities in life take over, and that's just kind of what happened here. But it's ready now to switch it up, fire on all 4 cylinders, and get it going again.
Yeah, you'll see that muscle memory come back as well.
Let's hope. I got the tape measure out already, measuring my arms. I got about 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got about 3/4 of an inch to go.
How much?
Yeah.
Well, twice on the Tampa trip. Didn't you get? Wasn't it me that was called the bodybuilder?
No, they looked at me when they said it. Keep dreaming. What else is there to go through on this one? I think you need to. We're on a podcast. People can't see you.
Short and sweet today.
Short and sweet. You're happy to cap it here.
20-minute cardio session done.
Right. So just to recap. So listen over the next couple of weeks for who were originally meant to have today. His name's Jazz, aka Dr. Gabba. I'm not going to give you his Instagram handle just yet. I want him to build his Instagram profile a little bit over the next couple of weeks. But we met him out in Tampa on the Mastermind, and I think he's got a really cool little idea going on that will help a lot of people.
Fibre.
So yep, double-edged
muscle building phase. Oh, gone.
No, you carry on.
If you're in a muscle building phase, you may want to reduce your fibre intake just to allow optimal digestion.
And on the flip side.
And on the flip side, if you're on a fat loss, if you're going through a fat loss diet, you may want to jump that up to about 10 grams per 1,000 calories.
There we go, nailed it. What else do we have? We had female body weight. This applies to males too, but I see it more often in females. That if you're getting to check-in day, you know you are getting leaner, you're nailing your shit, you're following your diet, you're getting your cardio in, you're getting your steps in, everything's on point. Visually, you're looking leaner, but the scales aren't reflecting it. Don't panic. Speak to your coach. Have them advise you to check your body weight, at least say 3 times a week to take an average, but I prefer 7. Report that back to your coach. It gives them more data. You then won't feel overwhelmed that you have to check in 1 day each week. And you should see things trend down nicely week after week. And then the third point was carbs versus fats, that there's no real set answer with which one you start to pull from a diet. If you've got an experienced coach, they shouldn't have a cookie cutter approach they roll out to every client. It should be individual. So I could have 2 females that are both on the same macros and I get a couple of weeks in. One of them, I might tell them to pull 5 grams of fats. Another, I might tell them to pull 10 grams of carbs. Sometimes I might leave it and I might get them to increase their output. Really depends on the client. So if you've got a coach that you trust, just roll with what they say. As I said before, thanks to Nick for the microphone. I hope that hopefully the audio this time is less echoey. And thanks to Sunil for hooking us up with the business class flights. The scallops were fantastic, as was the lemon tart. Yeah, hostess wasn't bad either. Got all flustered now. Oh God. Right, and yeah, keep an eye out for Project Recomp. The videos should be launching probably about a week after you guys listen to this. So just keep an eye on our emailing list. If you're not on that already, it's real simple. Just head to rntfitness.co.uk, scroll halfway down the page to where it says get free 25-day plan. Just enter your email address in there and you'll be added to our mailing list that we mail every Monday and every Thursday. Monday is always like some written advice for the week ahead. Thursdays are always a link to an educational video as well as the podcast that you're listening to now. So if you subscribe to that, then you won't miss out on these Project Recomp videos. And as always, just keep an eye on Akash and I's Instagram handles, which is at Adam Mahaley1 and at Akash Vigela. And then also our business page, which is at RNT_fitness. And I believe for the first time ever, I just nailed the outro.
Yeah, you froze there for a second on mine, so I thought I missed it all. And then I came back.
Yeah,
And,
I saw that you had froze,
already
but no, you froze as well. I just had your face sort of like mid trying to take a breath. Your mouth was half open. It put me off my stride a little bit, but I just carried on rolling because the microphone's my end. So hopefully everyone's got it. But yeah, I think I nailed that perfectly. For those of you that have listened to every podcast now from 1 through 13, hopefully you're seeing a bit of a progression here in that we get a little bit more fluid each time we do it. But as always, we're open to suggestions. So we've had suggestions on getting an intro, which we've now done, hence the music at the beginning of the episode. We had suggestions that originally we forgot to introduce the person that we were interviewing. So we're now taking steps to do that. I've been told that the sound on my end is echoey. So we're sorting that out. So gradually we're getting there. Right. Anything that you want to add to finish?
I think we're all good. I think you've covered the outro. My job's done there.
Your job's done. He's now kicking back with his arms behind his head. So he's happy. The last two things I'll quickly just shout out is if you're needing your usual whey, essential amino acids, creatine and whatnot, everything supplement-wise, just head to cardissportsnutrition.co.uk and enter code RNT10 for 10% off. And if you liked the sound of last week's episode with David talking about his protein coffees at Get Nourished, just head to their website, which is getnourished.co.uk, and enter the code RNT20 for 20% discount. I think I should get in touch with Mark at CSN and say that David's beaten him. We'll see if we can bump that up to 20% off for you guys.
We'll add that up to 20 now, yeah.
Yeah. We've been there long enough. So we're hooking you guys up. We're going to try and push that to 20. But in the meantime, RNT10. Right, so that's that.
Great.
And we shall speak to you guys next week.
See you next week.